Well, the I live by the slippery rock theory, and that basically is that South Carolina beat Clemson, Clemson beat Kentucky, Kentucky beat Duke, and Duke beat us. And so, by virtue of the slippery rock theory, we got to be ready to go. The other thing too is the two games they've lost in the league so far, at Texas A&M and Alabama. Most teams are going to lose those two games. So it's really hard to judge where South Carolina is. Like everybody else in the league, they started conference play with double-digit wins, 10 wins, which is obviously unprecedented. South Carolina's got a great front line, and Pringle and Bowles. And I personally really like the guards. The guard they got from Norfolk State, Thomas. Really impressed with him. And Wright's been there a number of years, and he's really good. Both seniors, both tough, both really good defensively. They've put some really good defensive guards and lowered their numbers. Now, Sears had a big night last night against South Carolina. But South Carolina's done a good job guarding guards, and they've got some very talented young kids that come off the bench. So, this is an important. Obviously, every game is an important game. After our game, I believe South Carolina's got another couple of really tough games. So this is a home game that they got to feel like they got to get, and I'm sure they'll play accordingly. Dylan Cardwell and Janai Broom, Cheney Johnson, our inside players, have worked really hard at improving their percentages, which is important because we like to go inside. And then the guards, all of our guards on our team are outstanding free throw shooters. Now they've worked hard also, but my frontline guys have worked hard to the point where they're not going to be hack-a-shacking us and thinking that that's the way to stop us, and that's really important. And obviously, those games, they're win or lose plays, and drive for show and putt for dough.
You guys have given up a couple late runs in some games against Texas. Ended up, becoming pretty close there at the end. Is there anything, specifically that you want to see differently in the back half of those games, and just where do you want to see them improve right there?
Well, I'd say the late run against Texas was against our starters. That'd be a concern. Some of the late runs prior to that, I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, were against the bench. So I don't think there's a connection. It's a 40-minute game. That's the connection. It's a 40-minute game, and teams aren't going anywhere. And to your point, though, I think that I would say that what we've done offensively in a couple of those games where we may have relaxed a little bit because of the lead and thrown some passes and done some things where we should have just finished basic plays and did not, and then all of a sudden the margin shrunk. I don't think in this case we did anything offensively that would have put us in a position where we allowed Texas A&M back into the game. I would say that our drop back defense in the last 4 minutes left a lot to be desired. Our transition defense, and they made tough shots.
Bruce, you mentioned that South Carolina likes to drive and draw fouls and gets fouled a lot. Is that similar to what Missouri did to you guys? And how did you like how you handled that against them?
I thought our guards did a pretty good job with Missouri's guards. I think the other thing, too, though, that against South Carolina, they'll do it with their posts, too. Like Murray Bowles and Pringle will look to attack our 4s and 5s and just throw themselves into contact. And so like Missouri, our guards had to really do a good job of guarding without fouling. Our bigs are going to have to do the same, and we'll show them on film how they initiate contact and how we can avoid, to the best of our ability, the whistle blowing when they initiate all the contact and we're allowed our guarding space, our legal space.
Bruce, late in that game, you put Tahad in. He dribbles some time off the clock, hits clutch free throws. Did kind of the same thing against Houston when y'all won a close game on the road. What does it say about him as a freshman on a team with so much experience that you trust him to finish it off for you?
Well, we do, and he has the speed and quickness to get open, and then be in position to get fouled, and that is important that we have that confidence in him late in the game, and he even though, let's just say he hadn't played the last 3 or 4 minutes, and then all of a sudden it's 30 seconds and it's a half a minute left, and boom, you're putting him in there cold. That's because he's effective in the ways we talked about. And then I thought the coaches did a good job also. And again, one of the things that I appreciate from my staff is they're communicating to me about, they'll throw out ideas and I can digest them and make decisions. The offensive and defensive substitution, having Dylan in there on defense, having Tahad in there on offense, is a good way of closing out games.